This episode is brought to you by McKay Photography Academy. Photography, travel, friendship, adventure. Visit mckaylive.com to learn more. And Squarespace, the all-in-one platform that makes it fast and easy to create your own professional website, portfolio, and online store. Visit squarespace.com/Toby to save 10% off your first purchase.
Hello everyone and welcome back to another Photo Mishmash. I'm Christina.
And I'm Toby.
And this is episode 67.
Welcome back everybody to another warm summer evening here in southern Vermont, but we do have the air conditioning working so it's not too bad in here. This is that weekly photo show that we do with you all, some of us who join us live that we're very appreciative of. I was just chatting with a few of you in the chat room. We're on a slightly different night than normal, but that's not going to stop us from taking the week's news, discussion topics, things that folks have passed us they want to hear us talk about, mashing them all up and sharing them with you, including part contests, part, well, it's at least a segment for tonight. I'm not necessarily going to call it a new segment, although I do like to introduce new segments each show, and that is where we're going to review some portfolios.
Yep.
Squarespace portfolios. And we've got some fantastic submissions, and we have lots to say about them, so stay tuned for that. But we said our names at the beginning, but let me let you know who I am. I'm Toby, photographer and educator.
And I'm Christina. I am a full-time wedding photographer.
And this is that show. I said that already, repeating myself.
So today we're going to talk about, we're going to try to keep a little bit of a shorter show today because we have a lot to do. So we're going to try to cap it at 1 hour.
To do.
That's our goal.
That's right.
But we still have a lot to talk about. We are going to talk about some news. We're going to talk about, we're going to announce our Instagram winners from this past week.
Did you put yours on the list?
We are going to go over your questions. We're going to try to answer as many of your questions as we can at the very end of the show. And Roy is back collecting your questions this week from his birthday.
That's right. Thanks.
So,
wasn't he back last week? It was 2 weeks ago.
Was it 2? No, I don't think it was 2.
I think it was.
Was it 2 weeks ago?
Because last week he so nicely jumped into the rundown and told us the fire rules. You got to stay 400 feet back. I remember. And luckily it's really hot where Roy is, so he had a shoot tonight that was canceled on him, or he postponed it because who wants to be outside shooting when the heat index is about 95? Do you have any? We've been really lucky wedding-wise this year. We had one wedding where I felt like a sweat ball at the end of the wedding. Other ones here in Vermont, the nights cool off. The days might be a little tough for the daytime for a little while, but then it cools off quite nicely. I was going to ask you for any tips in shooting in the heat, but
wear a dress.
Yeah, that looks good on me at weddings. Goes over really well. I'm not allowed to wear shorts. I want that Bermuda style. Pull up my socks, got those shorts on. That'll be great. Can I do the next wedding like that? Please. Stay hydrated. That is something that we recommend at all times, but it's especially important. If you start to get a headache or feel woozy while you're shooting a wedding, that's not good. That's not good. That's why I That's why I always decline the offering of alcohol too, because that doesn't help you keep hydrated. It also doesn't help keep you from getting woozy. With all those tips, I feel like we could just end the show right here and it was just full of stuff, but we want to remind you that there is a giveaway going on right now. This is the most exciting giveaway that we have ever been part of. We've teamed up with McKay Photography Academy. You have a chance to win a photography tour workshop to Yosemite National Park next winter. Amazing time to visit a gorgeous place. I only know that from talking to people. We've never been. We're super excited to go.
Oh, Yosemite. I thought you were talking about Iceland.
Yosemite, yes.
And
your airfare in the U.S. is included. Think Tank Streetwalker hard drive backpack for carrying all of your gear. Extra money and 3-day rental from Lumoy to rent some sweet piece of gear, a body, a lens, a beautiful 30 by 40. I don't know, you've made a 30 by 40 inch print for clients before. I don't know if I've ever had anything printed that large. 30 by 40.
It was of your picture.
It was of my picture, but I guess that counts, but it was for somebody else. 30 by 40 inch metallic print mounted on masonite. Those things, plus this trip, plus you get to spend time with us. That alone should be worth entering. Yeah, it should, because entering is very, very easy. So all the details you need to know are at photorec.tv/giveaway. Thank all of the people that are contributing stuff, especially McKay Photography Academy, and we'll be talking a little bit more about them because you do have a chance to join us in New Zealand as well.
Right. And we didn't talk about this, but if you want to interact with us outside of this podcast, we are on Instagram. You're pretty active on Instagram, right?
I'm pretty active. I try to post at least once a day.
And I have been using the Latergram app recently to schedule posts so that I can post 3 times a day, but I think that might be a little too much. I think I'm going to cut it down to twice a day.
Right. I heard you mutter something earlier today, like regularly posting on Instagram feels like a full-time job.
Yep.
Yeah. It's work to stay on those schedules. I both enjoy it and also feel like it helps with outreach, but it can be tricky.
Yep.
It's fun. Yeah. So you put our names down there, Photorec and Christina Bernals.
Bernalis.
Oh, Bernalis, because it's on Twitter where you've dropped all the vowels.
Because I have no choice.
I'm not saying that it was a bad. Just saying. You've gone the Web 2.0 route.
Well, I have
Flickr.
no choice.
You dropped your E's.
Yes, exactly.
What's the Web 3.0 naming convention? Is it where they just come up with random names for things like the Milk app or whatever else? What's it? Beam. To bring Casey into this. Like I know him in first person.
Okay, so we have some gear on the table.
Yes, we do. I've talked about it a lot, so I'm just going to say that finally my review is done. It will be out. It's edited. It's actually up on YouTube days before it's going to be released to you all. The Yongnuo 600 RT flash.
It's pretty good. I do say so myself, even though I had very little.
Yeah, you poo-pooed it because, when we pulled it out of the box, the rubber gasket fell off.
No, I meant the video.
Oh, the video. Oh, not the flash. I think the flash is pretty good and a good value for most of you. There are some people that maybe it shouldn't be your only flash, but otherwise. Another thing, Olympus has sent me the Tough TG860 waterproof tough camera. I wanted the TG4, but it's selling so well, they didn't have any to loan at the time. So I wanted to take a waterproof camera to Iceland with me, which I'm going to next week. And I didn't want to bring my GoPro because it's acting a little fritzy since it spent 5 days underwater after a canoeing incident. And I didn't want to bring the GoPro Hero Session or ask for that as a loan either because, I don't know, I wanted something different. So I wanted this. This is only $250 and I've been very impressed with it. One of the reasons that I was like, oh yeah, this sounds good, is it does time-lapse. But it's not until I got it that the shortest amount of seconds you can do is 10. That's too long a gap for a lot of time lapses I like to do, 2 to 3 seconds. And the greatest number of frames you can do is 99. 99, that is crummy. But I've been impressed with the quality, having a little flip screen and underwater camera, just having a big screen in general. Most of the time I use my GoPro. I'm swimming around, trying to capture the fish and stuff, and I'm just kind of hoping I'm getting them. With this, I can see that I'm getting terrible pictures, and so I can keep trying. So overall, I'm impressed. It's got GPS built into it as well. And again, just $250. I'd like to do, to talk about this versus a GoPro sometime quite soon, because it also has some action camera settings like a GoPro, and in a lot of ways I think this is a better buy for people. Later on in the brief discussion I'll talk a little bit about, we were just tourists in New York City and had a fun time. I was trying very hard to pay attention to see what people were shooting with, because here in Vermont you don't see many cameras out when we walk around our little town. So here was we went to very touristy locations like Natural History Museum, the World Trade Center Memorial, the 9/11 Memorial, and I was paying very close attention to what people were shooting with, and I'll give you my rough tally a little bit later. But spoiler, there were a fair number of GoPros being used for taking shots and selfie shots, and I thought, I don't know. All right.
All right, so let's move on to our new section.
And a quick reminder that if you're not watching this live, show notes should be linked right down below. All of the articles that we're going to talk about or maybe just mention will be linked there for you to check out in more detail at photorec.tv, and it'll be right up at the top in the featured section, episode 67.
That's right.
Okay.
Like we said at the beginning. So
It hasn't changed.
some of you guys might know who Trey Ratcliffe is. He is a travel photographer. He does a lot of HDR photography, which I particularly don't love, but we're just not big fans of HDR photography. But anyway, all that aside, he is one of the most popular photographers out there. I don't think that there are many people who don't know about him. I think I probably know about him because of you. I think maybe I wouldn't know
Right.
about him.
I think one of his claims to fame, he is the most followed photographer in many social media circles, including Google+. He's very good at jumping on the bandwagon, and his pictures have mass appeal. I do hear a lot of photographers similar to us kind of poo-poo his more HDR look, but he doesn't shoot all of his pictures like that. He certainly does have talent, and he seems like a really nice guy. Say that. He's been on some other shows that I've watched from time to time. And now he is teamed up with the Peak Design Capture Clip folks who are known for their kind of like holster system to design a camera bag. And they're calling it the ultimate camera bag, and it's blowing up on the internet a little bit, and that's what this Petapixel article says. So we show some folks these pictures. Actually, you know what, I'm going to skip through. Well, no, I guess this is a good place to show pictures. Your first thoughts about this bag, Christina?
Well, the way that you described it before sounded to me, before I saw it, sounded to me a lot uglier than it is.
Oh.
So it's not as hideous as you made it sound.
Okay.
I wouldn't buy it either, though.
Right.
I don't like it that much.
Interesting, neat,
It's
because
too
it's
practical for me.
too practical
Just
for
kidding.
you.
No. No, it's just, I don't know.
That's another video that should come out very soon, is your Ona bag review,
Yeah.
which is gorgeous and practical. But we'll talk about that.
So, yeah.
Well, one thing that's neat is that it integrates very nicely with their capture clip system. I like this idea. So
Yeah.
you can have on the outside of the bag quick access to your camera in some situations, even faster than getting to your camera. You should take some time and go over and check out their Kickstarter link. They wanted 100,000. They're now at 1.2 million. And
It's pretty insane.
You know, as always, we should have this Kickstarter segment because we end up talking about something on Kickstarter every week. You know, you may not get something that you pay for on Kickstarter, but I feel pretty comfortable in saying that these guys are going to be able to come to market with this based on the amount they've raised and the fact that it's Peak Design. They've had other very successful projects before as well.
Yeah.
They've never had a failure. I don't see this as
That you know of.
that I know of. Well, they've got 5 projects.
On Kickstarter.
On Kickstarter,
Got
and they've never, all of them have come through.
Yeah, I mean,
So
it's also
we're just
very,
looking at
like,
the same pictures again. But you should go watch the video, how it's configurable. It doesn't have, if I understand right, it doesn't have the typical Velcro. Kind of has these little like slide tab systems instead. And you know,
It seems very like
ugly bags. I'm sorry.
It seems very, I don't know. It was kind of designed with men in mind, in my opinion. So, I don't know.
You want flowers on it?
Yes, because that is the definition of something that a woman would be interested in.
I was kidding.
No, but it does come across that way, and I kind of wish there were maybe a couple more options than just that one design.
Well,
but
you know what?
This is their first one,
That's
so
right.
I'm sure that they will come
They
out with
could
lots of other beautiful
some
designs.
more options coming. Yeah, I think it's neat, and I really like, you know, finding the perfect camera bag is incredibly difficult. We love our think tank bags. I wouldn't call them perfect, but they work well for us. The Ona bag is wonderful, gorgeous, stylish, and really nice inside.
It's really heavy.
But it's heavy. Yep.
I bet this isn't.
I bet this is lighter weight, but the material also looks like it's fairly padded, and it might still be kind of hefty. I don't know if they say anywhere. Does anybody figure out what it weighs? Let us know. I'd be curious. But it seems fairly lightweight.
Moving on.
Yeah.
Metabones has released I just skipped a news story. Okay, let's go to this one.
Yeah.
So apparently some film processing services, say Walgreens, CVS, when you used to take your film, they used to develop it for you. Now they don't return the actual film, they just give you the CD with the digital scans of the images. And the gist of the article is that I guess they've been kind of farming out the development of the film. They don't do it in-house anymore. They've been farming it out, and the company that they farm it out to destroys the film afterwards, doesn't send it back. So you don't get your film back, which is...
You know what? I think for most of the people who are getting film developed at one of those locations, they probably don't care.
Yeah.
If you're serious about getting your film developed, you should not be taking it to one of those places in the first place. Who should you take it to?
Well, it depends on, are these pictures really important to you? Are they like professional pictures? Or if they are, there's plenty of other independent labs that you can mail your film to.
And get it back.
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't have taken it, even if they did it in-house, I still wouldn't have taken my film to any of these places anyway. So,
Right. Yep.
Anyway.
So the next article that you tried to skip to is that Metabones has released a new speed booster for the Micro Four Thirds. We are filming this with a GH4, a Micro Four Thirds camera, using the older speed booster and a Canon lens. So they've released a new one that is better and allows autofocus. However, they also released a firmware upgrade for the one that's on here that allows autofocus with some lenses. I put it on there. It's very easy. There's a little USB port on the side of the Metabones. I mean, I heard that the firmware came out yesterday. I looked at my Metabones and said, oh, this is where I plug a cable in. Nice, because it's the first time I thought about that. Installed the firmware. Very, very easy and quick application. And I can now autofocus with some of my lenses, including the one we're filming with, although we have it turned off. The results are consistent with other Metabones and Canon lenses I found on both Canon, like the Micro Four Thirds on Sony, because Sony's the only cameras that I've autofocused with Metabones adapters so far. And that is to say, it's not speedy, and it may not always be so accurate and consistent, but it's a nice step forward, and I appreciate that it was just a simple firmware update has now given me that ability. I've played around with it for just a little bit, so I don't want to say more than that. It might be better than I think, but there was a lot of hunting, even in good light, just sitting here in the office yesterday as I was trying it. So that's another video I hope to get out soon. Just some sample shots of tracking and autofocus with some different Canon lenses on Micro Four Thirds cameras.
Yeah. And the new version that they released also allows another stop of light.
Wow.
So.
Yeah. And that's the kind of the magic of that speed booster. So we're shooting with an f2.8 lens right now, but we can actually go to f2. I think this lens can go to f2 because the sensor is smaller. Basically, I think a simple way to explain it, because I don't understand it exactly, it's kind of a magnifying glass in there, and it just concentrates the light onto the smaller sensor from this full frame lens that you're using. That's key. Gotta be using a full frame lens to mount onto the speed booster, or at least a lens that's bigger, made for bigger than a Micro Four Thirds sensor. Okay?
Okay. So now moving on to the Darwin Awards. I'm just kidding, not Darwin Awards. That's really mean.
I don't think,
That's
well,
really mean.
okay.
To the stuff you should not do.
Stuff you should not do. Right, last week we had kind of this group segment of people shouldn't be so crappy and steal other people's stuff, right? This week, people shouldn't be so dumb and take selfies with wild animals.
Right. Or shoot on train tracks. People don't shoot on train tracks.
Yeah.
Don't shoot on active train tracks. That's just bad. It's not. Don't do it. Don't do it. I know it seems like safe because you can't hear the train.
You can hear the train.
Or because you can hear the train, but you can't.
Yep.
You can't really.
So we're not going to go into depth in all of these, but this first one is photographers killed on train tracks by a train. They were set up in such a way that they were trying to get a picture of the model with a northbound train in view, and they didn't hear the southbound train, and that's the tracks they were standing on. So again and again and again and again, people think that they're going to hear the train and have enough time to move out of the way.
But if there's one train coming from one side, then you can't hear the other one coming from the other side, and so you just don't do it.
Right.
It's not worth it. Trains are like totally passe at this point, like train tracks, like pictures of train tracks.
Pictures on train tracks. It does feel overdone, but if you
Don't
really
do
want to
it.
do it, do a little bit of research and find the tracks that are dead.
Yes.
They're out there. There's probably some within a 20 to 30 minute drive of where you live, and sit
Don't
there
do it
for
on that
24
train.
hours to make sure they're actually dead. And so moving from trains to the wild animals that I mentioned, we've got woman flipped into the air after a selfie with bison. Now, this was in Yellowstone National Park, and when we were there with McKay Photography Academy back in January,
We saw lots of bison.
we saw lots of bison.
They got kind of close, like,
Well, that was the thing, and the McKays were like, and our bus driver said, everybody needs to move back now, you know,
Yeah.
and there was actually two groups going two different ways, and you just want to give those very large animals plenty of room.
when we were at the farm where we got to photograph all the animals, all the trained animals. They had a bison. They had a baby bison. He wasn't really a baby. He was more of like just a young bison, and you know he was like shorter, a good bit shorter than me, but you know you could see him like be really, really strong. Like he had a lot of power. So imagine what a giant, like a full-grown adult bison would do. That would be.
And they can be grumpy,
Oh yeah, yeah,
very grumpy.
right.
Like-
Very territorial.
Like me when things don't work right in the podcast. Similar to my grumpy level. But apparently this woman just kept backing up to get a selfie. And I actually don't know how close she was. Go read the article to find out how close she was. Probably not as close as we think because, again, they can sprint like 30 to 40 miles an hour for a short distance, and they flipped her. And I believe she was okay. Went to the
Okay.
hospital,
I'm
but
glad she's okay.
nothing. Earlier in the year, I heard that a poor older woman doing a similar thing, trying to get a photo, got too close and actually got gored in the hip. Every year we hear these stories, and every year, well, we haven't been doing this show this long, but we need to remind you, don't be dumb with wild animals. And the other story is the guy trying to get a selfie with a rattlesnake. In this case, he grabbed it out of a bush to take a picture of it with him. It then bit him on his arm, rushed to the hospital, $135,000 hospital.
$53,000.
Oh, 50. I should have let me inflate it. A $53,000 hospital bill.
No, 153. Said it backwards.
153. My numbers dyslexia is coming through. $153,000 hospital bill. In unphoto related, rattlesnakes can be extremely dangerous. I just read that a gentleman died in Pennsylvania. He was collecting firewood at night around the campsite, got bitten, said to the girlfriend, "Take me to the hospital right now," and he died before he made it there.
So, yeah, I mean, so the thing is, you can't really prevent these things from happening sometimes. Like, sometimes you'll just be out collecting wood at night and there'll be a rattlesnake and it'll bite you. But if you can avoid it, and, like, maybe it means that you won't get a selfie with a rattlesnake, maybe don't do it.
Yep.
But anyway, obviously this was a very unique case because we'd be hearing about it if lots more people were doing it. So, all right, moving on to some kind of depressing but
I'd say predictable news.
predictable, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So Canon's profits dropped about 16% for the last quarter, and I'm not surprised.
Right.
I was kind of like wondering when that was going to happen.
Right. Mostly from folks not buying their point and shoots. That's where it seems like the greatest amount of this decrease has come from. And people are using their smartphones. And that's what I saw in New York City. Smartphone. And it was actually the only thing I brought. I wanted to travel light. I knew it was going to be warm. I knew we were going to do a lot of walking. And I said, you know what? This is good enough for the pictures that I'm going to be taking, because it wasn't a trip to go make amazing photos. It was a trip to go experience these things with family. So I might regret a little bit not having a better camera with me, but certainly
regrets.
at the time, it was really nice to travel so light.
I mean, how often do you take the pictures that you take on trips like this and then do anything with them besides just share them on the computer.
Right.
It's not
true.
very often.
It's true.
And this camera produces more.
So is this all I should take to Iceland?
No, obviously.
Obviously?
Yeah, because you can't make a 30 by 40 print of.
I'm not allowed to win though. I can't win.
No,
that
I know,
print.
but you could still want to make one and then like put it in your
true.
office somewhere.
I know somebody said that last week. That's the only thing. I think it would be fun to take this someplace. And take. It's fun to use that, but at the same time, I have not shot much with my DSLR other than testing for this channel and the weddings that we've done over the last month. And I took a couple pictures the other night and thought, personal pictures, and thought, they are a lot better. They look and they have this feel to them that is much nicer. You only brought your film camera, which is what we said last week. So we stuck to what we said. And I almost the last minute said, I'll bring the T6S and the 24mm pancake. But then I said, no, I don't want it. So it's going to be interesting to see where Canon's profits, how much Canon's profits continue to drop. One of the things, we talk a lot about Canon, and even though I like to bring this up because I think it's so funny, even though I've been accused of being sponsored by Canon, I think we're fairly hard on Canon right now because we want them to be innovating as fast as some of these other companies like Sony, or at least, update their sensors in a more let's give us some more dynamic range is what we're trying to say here. But the other night we were shooting a wedding with some professional videographers, and they were shooting with, was it C100s or C300s? I can't remember.
C100s.
C100s. The nice video camera-like thing from Canon. And I said, I was talking to him, I said, how did you end up with Canon? Did you have a lot of Canon lenses? How did you end up with this thing? And he said, I'd been shooting with the 5D Mark III for a long time. He said, I really liked it, but it wasn't fun to shoot a lot of video with it. It's form factor. And he said, I added on a cage or this kind of thing and this kind of thing to make it more video form factor friendly, but it just wouldn't work for me, and it just ended up getting heavier and heavier until my arm felt like it was going to fall off at the end of the night. And he said, this C100, its ergonomics are wonderful for him. And so we talk a lot about people jumping ship left and right to these other companies and other manufacturers. And I think that, and I don't think I'm saying anything amazing here, but Canon is not dead. And I think they're going to do well for quite a while for many reasons. But one is they are still producing stuff that professionals want and need. Professionals don't always necessarily want and need the latest bells and whistles, but they want and need something that's going to work for them. It uses proven technology, proven lens systems, and that is a strength of Canon. And I think, I just wanted to balance some of our recent hardness on Canon with a perspective from this guy, who I value his opinion because in talking to them and seeing what they shoot, they're good guys. Mm-hmm. Good guys and girls. Because one was a girl. Okay, woman.
Alrighty. Next is yet the shipping notice for the A7R Mark II has been changed yet again.
Yeah, Scott put this in that got me really excited. It says July 30th, shipping notice for the A7R II. This sounds like two guys in the UK somehow are getting their hands on one earlier from wherever they ordered it from. But here in the US, every place I've looked, shipping date is still August 5th. Sony store itself says August 4th. B&H lists this camera as one of the, I think, third best-selling interchangeable lens cameras currently, or maybe best-selling digital camera currently. That says to me that people are hot for this camera. Again, not saying anything amazing here. And it's going to be hard to get your hands on one if you don't already have a pre-order in for, I think, at least a month, maybe two. I hope not longer than that, but we'll see. And again, I see a lot of people saying, I'm going to wait till the price comes down because Sony's cameras do seem to drop in value a bit more. And part of the reason is they iterate a little bit faster, and we've got more higher end versions coming out than from Canon or Nikon. But we'll see. Again, I feel pretty confident I'll have mine before I go to Iceland. I've got 2 stores lined up, including B&H. Worst comes to worst, I have to drive to New York the day I fly out of Boston. But
that sounds incredibly painful.
I don't think I would say incredibly painful, but it's certainly.
That is a 4-hour drive just one way. Let's just talk about how painful it would be.
I still don't want to call it painful, but I would certainly say it's not pleasant. But again, I don't want to put it on the level of anybody having actual hardships because it's something I'm going to choose to do. It's not like tripping and falling on a nail through your hand. Okay?
Do you want to talk about this next news story? Because I didn't read it.
This is from Petapixel, and well, this is one of those headlines. Studying lovebirds could help us build better drone cameras, scientists say. That's why those scientists were knocking on our door the other day, because we're a pair of lovebirds and they were studying us. No. We're talking about the parrots, which apparently the lovebird parrot, I guess I'm going to call them parrots because they look like parrots, can turn its head super fast while it's flying. So, I think all through history, science has studied nature in a way to make stuff that we're doing better. All kinds of things. They've got a cool slow motion video here. This is from Petapixel. But if drone gimbals would be as fast as the neck of a lovebird making a saccade, I had to look that word up. I'd never heard that. S-A-C-C-A-D-E of 60 degrees in about 40 milliseconds. Basically, super fast. And they want to be able to make gimbals that fast so that you've got fast transitions from one shot to another as the drone is flying. More dramatic maneuvers from our lovebirds. Okay, that's all. We powered through the news stories.
We did.
If you appreciated that nonstop roll of news, give this video a quick thumbs up. And remember, if there's anything that we're discussing that you feel like you really want the rest of the world to know, and especially us, make sure you leave a comment, because you wonderful chatters in there, I can glance over every once in a while and see what you're saying. But all of that disappears at the end of the live show. And so take a moment and leave a comment down below. And the thumbs up is always appreciated as well. I want to take just a moment. I mentioned going to Iceland next week. I'm a little excited, being silly. I'm very excited. I'm sorry that you won't be joining us.
I'll get over it.
One of the reasons I'm excited is to get away from the heat. It's hot.
Yeah.
And even though Vermont's not too bad, I don't love the hot humidness of summer very much. So I'm excited to go. 55 to 60 degrees looks like the weather. You know you're getting close to a trip when you can check that 10 to 15 day forecast and see some of what the weather's supposed to be like. I mean, it might not be so accurate, but it gives you a sense. And so that's I was like, ooh, I can check the weather for the day I land now the other day, and I was pretty excited about that. But we don't want to talk about Iceland right now, because you'll be hearing lots from this channel while I'm on the Iceland trip. And one of the things I'm going to do is, especially since Christina won't be there to have our fun little vlog chats, is really work on getting you some good photo tips and a little bit more of what are we doing out there in the field. We're going to work very hard on that. I was going to knock on wood. I'm not going to knock on wood. I'm just going to work very hard on that, because that's what I want to bring you. And Roy wants your spot. Problem was, well, never mind. Maybe on a future trip, Roy, that would be good. But Roy and others, you can join us on the New Zealand trip next January. Now, talk about getting away from the weather. For us in North America, above, let's say, the Mason-Dixon line, or for you on the West Coast, let's say above Northern California, winter can be a drag. Long, dreary days, cold temperatures, sometimes frigid temperatures, especially you Midwest folks. I don't know how you do it with your spiky hot summers and your plummeting, freezing temperature winters. How about getting away to the amazing location of New Zealand for, is it 9 or 10 days? The itinerary is packed full of both amazing things, photographic, amazing opportunities, relaxing moments like breakfast cruise. There's just one spot left now on this New Zealand trip, and I know Joe, is very excited. He's one of the PhotoRec folks coming along, and he said for the first time in a long time, he is excited to look toward winter, because he will be getting out of this North America cold box and heading to New Zealand. We want one of you to join us on this trip, and all the details and all the information you need to know are right down below. We think
it should be pretty amazing.
It should be pretty amazing. Last week we discussed whether or not we're going to figure out if you're hobbit-sized. And I'm curious. Come along and find out in person. All right?
So, but here's the thing about that, though.
Here's the thing about that.
If it was high enough or tall enough to fit the actor that played the Hobbit, who is not Hobbit-sized, then it will definitely seem like it was Hobbit-sized for me, and probably for you too. So,
I'm just gonna, seem Hobbit-sized. Yeah.
because they're not Hobbits.
I'm just gonna find the biggest door and I'm gonna make you let me take a picture of you in front of it so you look Hobbit-sized.
Fine.
And I'll Photoshop a little bit of hair on your feet too, because I hear those those Hobbits have hairy feet. All right, cheating a little bit, we got that segment that we've tried to make a reoccurring regular segment, and that is photos from space. We're gonna switch it around a little bit. Photos of space, and this is a little bit, thanks Roy for sending this in, about what Adobe's dehaze slider does to photos of the night sky. And I'm just gonna go down and first, are we looking at my thing here? First picture is raw, straight out of the camera. You can see a hint of the Milky Way up there. Some Canon DSLR, 20 seconds, ISO 3200, pretty big noisy. He did some tweaks to it. This photographer knows what he's doing to some degree, and got a nice blue tone, got rid of that kind of orange glow that you get from light pollution. And then he cranked the dehaze slider up to plus 74, and it looks a little too crunchy to me, but certainly really makes the Milky Way pop right there. So, the dehaze slider, useful not only on underwater photos as we've seen, but now on night sky with a bit of light pollution as well. All right?
I'm just looking at the chat. A lot of people are coming out in my defense saying I am not Hobbit size.
How can they tell? You could be standing on your chair right now.
Well, last week we had a discussion about our sizes. Everybody posted their sizes on the chat, or their heights on the chat.
I didn't get a chance to do
I'm
that.
5'1". I've been
I'm
short
5'10"
my
and
whole
3/4.
life. Really?
Your whole life. Really?
Yeah.
What height would you say that I am if I'm not 5'10", 3/4"? We should save this discussion for the closed.
Yeah. Okay.
The after.
Moving on.
Okay. Hey, it's time to take a moment and select or share our Instagram winner. So we have a weekly Instagram challenge, and if you don't know what all of this Instagram stuff is all about, these challenges are a great way to get started, where you just kind of get a gentle introduction to using Instagram. We have a fun network of people that are starting to follow each other and give each other feedback and just encouragement, and I love that. So thank you for doing that. We present a challenge to you each week. You take a picture, get it on Instagram, and I have information on different ways to do that if you want to get your DSLR pictures onto Instagram or whatever camera you use. Then we pick a couple of winners and honorable mentions and give you the challenge for next week.
Now we announce it because you've been talking too much. So
Okay.
let's do it.
All right. Excuse me.
What?
I was going to check how dramatic to be. I hate those shows where they're dramatic. I'm just opening up my... Should we go with honorable mentions first? And
Do
then
whatever you want.
Winners? Okay.
Whatever you want.
My first honorable mention is Eduardo's photo. Balance can mean a lot of things, and it was funny, the very first picture I saw was actually Dalabor's, where somebody was balancing on somebody else, and I thought, wow, that's not what I had in mind at all, but that certainly works very nicely. But in this case, about the use of negative space to create a balance within your image, and I will be dead honest with you, I don't know if this picture exhibits balance nicely or not. But there's something about it that it doesn't have tension to me, so then that makes me feel like it has balance. And I just really liked the colors, the kind of the loss of the horizon in maybe the morning mist. It might be pollution, but let's call it morning mist.
It's a nice photo, but I wouldn't call it very balanced, because I think if it did exhibit balance, I think the sunburst would be more to the left.
That would be a good critique. I agree with that. So let's move on to Ben's honorable mention. And this is, sometimes I really like a photo, but I have a bit of a critique about it. I don't think this is a perfect balance either. It feels a little leaning to the right, like literally, that line. But I love the colors and the tones here, and I think if it was straightened a little, so the line back here was straight, it would feel much more balanced.
I don't know. I think it works.
Okay, you think it works? And my pick for balanced is William Stone's, because I think it works on two levels here. We've got a surfer balanced out at the end of his board, and he is balanced by all of this wave to his left. I really like that he's just a little bit into the frame. We don't even see all of his surfboard. It works really nice. I think this is a great shot.
Great.
All right, let's switch over to Christina's. Let's do
turn.
your honorable mentions first. For some reason that link isn't clicky, so we'll see me copy and paste it onto Eduardo's. And we'll wait for it to load.
So this to me is very nicely balanced because you've got the frame almost split diagonally in half, but there's a little bit more black than there is blue, and that black is almost balancing out the little bit of moon that we see on. So it's a really cool shot. Super simple, which I love. I love simplicity and minimalism in photography, and it's nicely balanced.
It's nicely balanced. Let's look at your next honorable mention. I love that shot too that you picked. Very nice.
So kind of similar, this one by
Aubrey
Kingston Photography. It is almost symmetrical in the sense that it's split kind of halfway, and the subject is smack dab in the middle. So there's perfect balance in this picture.
Very nice.
And again, super simple, very nice.
And your winner, which also didn't get clicky.
This one, it's just, I don't know. There's just something so beautiful about images that are so minimal, and I don't know. I feel like I can't even put it into words.
Yep.
I just thought this picture was beautiful.
I love it too. I felt like it had a bit of tension to it and didn't feel as balanced to me. So but I love the picture.
Well, compositionally to me it feels balanced. It can have tension and be balanced.
That's good. Okay. All right. Well, thank you everybody who participated in that. We love seeing your photos. I check the tag a couple times over the course of the week usually, and just really enjoy seeing what all you are coming up with. And some of you sometimes you make stuff happen. I really appreciate that. Next week, summer is oftentimes for many people about travel, but we have had family come to us, as we've been talking about, and really made us think about staycations, and that hashtag is too blah. So, and I think actually it was Roy who might have suggested this, my town. Our challenge next week is for you to showcase some aspect of your town. So, we're really switching gears here because this week was really taking a photo term, a compositional element. What do we call balance? It's a thing.
It's a compositional element.
Compositional element. Thank you. And now I want you to just show us something from your town, and I will be double checking that you actually live there. Not really, but take some time. PhotoRec.tv/PRTV has all of the past challenges, all of the past winners, usually a day or like a couple hours after we announce them, and information about the current challenge as well. So get out there, get shooting.
Yep. And now we're going to move on to our Squarespace/portfolio review. So we asked you guys 2 weeks ago to make a portfolio and submit it.
Yeah.
And
you didn't have to make one, you just could submit it.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And there are some people that are already Squarespace users. I wanted folks to see just how easy Squarespace is to work with. And I think we had at least 3 or 4 folks who had never tried it before try it for the first time and said, wow, that really was easy. And judging by the portfolios that we got submitted, they all look nice. We've got some critiques about them, and some might sound a little harsher than we've critiqued things in the past, because we want it to be good. And we want you to walk away from this, both those who submitted and those who are thinking about their own portfolios, to really have some concrete suggestions that are going to make your portfolio rocking awesome, whether or not you use Squarespace. All right, so should we just start running through these and talking about them?
Yeah, and I think it's going to be fairly quick though, because
I know
it is almost 7 already.
Yeah, we won't talk about the what I saw in New York, or maybe we'll save that for the closed session. But yeah, we're going to be pretty quick about this. And the first one we're going to talk about is Corey's, the personal and professional website of Corey H. Rowe. Now, right there, that's a little tricky. You know, marrying both your personal passions and your work together in one site to show people what you're all about.
Yeah.
My first suggestion would be, and we talked about this a little bit before, is if this is work related, front and center should be what you can do for people or what you want to do for people in your work.
Exactly.
And you can work your personal bits in the blog maybe?
Yeah, or just have a section that has personal work. But
Right.
front and center should be the work that you are attempting to get hired for.
Yep. Now, Corey used this link. This is what he passed to us. So this is the first page that we've landed on. But what I was curious about, and it's nice, very clean. It's one of the things Squarespace does very nice, is it really helps you to stay clean. Got a lot of nice pictures, just very easy to just start scrolling and to look at them. But you know, what happens if you land on the home page, as many might do? And so this is good. So this is, I know he covered this event recently, I think he was there for professional reasons. And so front and center, he's got an event that he covered and some shots from it. But we have this enter button, which I think I've actually shown before. And I would recommend people give something more than just enter. They should be able to go directly to, visitors should be able to go directly to something they want to go to.
So for Splash, so this is kind of a splash page, right?
Yeah,
And
exactly.
splash pages are known to not be very good for search engine optimization. They don't have a lot of content, so people will usually just be lazy and be like, all right, you know, I'm not going to waste my time with this. So if you are trying to advertise, I would recommend you not having splash pages.
Yep.
Because they can deter people away from your content, and you do not want that. You want as many people as possible to have easy access to your content.
Right. And if you are going to have a splash page per se, then it should have more than an enter button, I believe. It should allow you to say, show me, and then maybe we don't call it a splash page anymore. It's
right,
like,
it's
show
a home
me.
page.
It's a home page. All right, yeah, there you go. We're on the same page about that. So those are some feedbacks on this. And having a blog is great.
To be fair, he sent us, the page that he sent us, I think, is what he wanted us to judge for his portfolio. So sorry, Corey, that we made an example out of your splash page, even though you didn't.
I said we are going to be a little bit harsher. I would like to be able to see some of these pictures a little bit larger.
Yeah, that would be nice.
I think it's fine to have them like this, but then they should be clicky to make them bigger. Maybe a nice something like that. I also would say, again, and then see, we don't get to a menu until we go through a lot of these. Corey, pick like your 4 most favoritist pictures and just do those, and then into the menu. And I think we can probably get to that menu someplace else, maybe not. If not, then you should bring those up.
Let's move on to the next one.
Let's move on. We've got Michael's Abbey, or Michael Sabby.
So first thing about portfolio building, content takes priority over everything else. So that means that all the elements that you include in your portfolio that are part of the design should be super simple, super duper simple. So a picture as a background is probably not a good idea. I can understand why. It sort of adds a little bit of personality, but the work that I am supposed to be looking at kind of feels like it doesn't stand out as much.
There's some tension. There's
so much
right.
stuff competing for attention. There's the logo. There is the picture in the background. You can't really read the menu all that well. All of the links in the menu all that well, and it's also kind of slow. As we were earlier, we couldn't really.
I think I had another tab open that was having issues that was
never
causing
mind.
Right, yeah. But I agree with everything here. I mean, this is a nice cover page, but again, I agree with what Christina is saying. As it loads in different resolutions and stuff, those texts might end up in weird places. So you want to. And again, this was very open. We didn't say, only submit stuff if you were making a portfolio for work, or only submit stuff if you're just making a fun portfolio. So we got kind of submissions, that have different reasons for being alive. But
so we're critiquing all portfolios just for what we think that they are for.
Yep.
So some of them are going to be personal, some of them are going to be kind of both, some of them are going to be professional.
And I'm confused by this. I believe we're on your portfolio, Michael, and we've got photography options, okay. We got video options, okay. And then we have a portfolio link. Where's that take me if I click it?
Oh, the demo reel.
A demo reel. Aha. So that is mostly video focused. So that's a little confusing. Let's just take a quick look at an individual gallery of pictures before we move on to another one. So we're all loading it on this picture background.
They're beautiful pictures.
Very nice pictures. You've got some gorgeous scenery, and they are edited very nicely as well. What happens if I click on one of them? Okay.
And so that's nice.
Yep. And now I can still see that picture in the background, but it's faded out. That's fine. I can go next and things like that. So I'd really, as Christina said, pare down this home page, and also since it's serving as most of your pages are the background, and really kind of simplify it. Let's move on to Tony's travel photos thing. You know what? Let me close this down here to give just a little more screen real estate to everybody. Okay. So here we are. Quite simple. We've got Tony Lawrence here, photography landscapes down here. So I think that's where we are right now. And if we go over photography, we get landscapes and wildlife. And over about, we don't have any fly out at all. What happens if we click photography? I'm always curious what happens when there's a fly out menu and you click on the header menu.
It just takes you to the same page.
Takes you to the same page. Okay.
So.
And I can go next here. It's beautiful. Okay. So we've got two ways to get into our navigation. Or to navigate your portfolio. We can go next, and we end up in wildlife.
If you click that little big wildlife picture.
Oh, so it's the same as clicking the arrows, yeah.
So it's not a huge deal, but I would kind of intuitively, I would want, if I click on wildlife on the owl picture, it would be nice if it would take me to the wildlife shots.
Right. So further, you've landed on that page. Now let's see more of the pictures. If you use the menu up here, I think it does more of what you want.
Yeah. So it's not a big deal.
Right. So maybe take the navigation away from the big picture. And just let people's.
Yeah.
Okay. Very clean. Very nice. I like that. It's good. You've got a contact email. I think we were talking about this. You should have both a contact email and a contact form.
You should. If you don't have a contact form, that's fine. But you should never not have a contact email. People to spam you, then have like an email, like maybe a business email. It doesn't have to be a .com website, but maybe just get a different email address and have it forward. Just because. The contact forms break, and you might not know that they're broken. This has happened to me and happened to other photographers before. And email most of the time will work, so you want to make sure people can contact you and that they have the information if they want to contact you directly via email.
Yep, sounds good. Okay, we have Aubrey's.
And I should also say, I meant to say about Tony's portfolio that I like that you just chose two categories. I'm sure you photograph a lot of other things, but you simplified it and you picked the two things that either you do the most or you do best, and you put all your best work forward. So that was great.
Yep. and not a million pictures, which is good too. Okay, Aubrey has, again, very nice, very clean. I like this. My work for clients, about me and contact.
So what is for clients? Can you click that?
Yes, I did earlier. This takes you to client access. So she's done a shoot, and here's how they access the pictures, which also Squarespace allows very nicely.
Yeah. Okay.
Aubrey, have you done work for Sony USA? All right, so first thoughts here is we've got nice categories.
Really nice work. Your work is awesome.
And yep, and the pictures that we're representing each of these are top notch. But I come down here and I'm confused because we've got these clear categories, and then we have what probably is a nice trip to St. Croix in 2015. So that might have snuck in there. You get that out of there. And I also think that, well, we talked about this already, so I don't know how much more to say, but show the work you want to shoot more. Down here you say that you are a portrait and event photographer based out of Wilmington. So that, I'm a little overwhelmed by the number of stuff here. There's not that much, but I think it should be pared down to really your portraits and your event.
Yeah.
And then within that, you could highlight a couple of your unorthodox portraits if you'd like to shoot some more of that or like to gain some work in there. And of course, the products.
Or you could have a different website for that. So the nice thing about having different websites for different work that you do is that you can market it separately, and it's wiser to market it separately because when you start doing search engine optimization on the website, the spiders that crawl your website are going to be confused. Like, okay, is it a headshot photographer? Is it a portrait photographer? Or is it a commercial photographer? You know, people will be more likely to find what they're looking for if you specialize your website. And you've got a lot of really awesome work. You just, and it's totally fine to do lots of different things, but I think that people are going to be more likely to find you if you separate your work and create different websites for it.
Yep.
And I know it's a lot of work, but it's going to be worth it in the long run.
Right. You get this is the cleanliness of the site is very nice though, and I like you got a kind of little header here of what you want people to do. Also, I might have said she. I'm sorry about that, Aubrey. Yeah, really nice. So I'll just pare it down a little bit. Phone contact on there along with your email and that contact page as well. So well done. We've got. You know what? I'm sorry, I can't remember whose name this is. Let's go to my info and then we can see. This is Glenn. Glenn Fluellen. And based out of New Zealand. Glenn, maybe you should come visit us while we're in there. Okay, so when you're on your homepage, here we are. Very simple. We've got portfolio down here and my info. And I'm noticing that if I hold over portfolio, it is the same address where we are right now. So if I click it, we just kind of go back to the beginning of this slideshow, which is a little confusing. I'd like to be presented with some options and letting me choose what to look at. You know, this might be kind of the opposite of Aubrey's with a lot of different options. This is just, we got no options here. But we're presented with some nice black and white images. I like that they're consistently all black and white in here. I think that works well. And if I click on this little 4-square thing down here, now we get our options. And so regular people, they might not realize that's a button. And if you're talking about clients or maybe even just family members you want to share this stuff with, then you should make it very clear. And so you've got some nice shots. I like how this slides up, and then we can click on something and we get a big view of it. And now we're going through those. Yeah. Anything else to say, Christina?
No, I agree with you about making it clear where people are going, and not, yeah. And you should probably add, I guess, if you're not are advertising your services for sale, then it's fine if you don't have an email address.
Yep. Contact is fine. Now we have Max M's, My Escape Place. And are we on the home page? I think we are. Yes. And this is similar to Corey's in that we can just start scrolling and see some really nice flower photos and some really close-up dewdrops. We have home, we have about, And I like this that you got a little bit about you. Watch out for typos and spaces. You need some spaces in here. It's being really picky, but that's the kind of stuff that I notice when I'm looking at people's portfolios. And it doesn't necessarily look like you're looking for work. You just want to share your photos. So it's not that big a deal. And you got a nice blog here as well. You get this navigation that, I only randomly or accidentally clicked on to notice that it moves. So you might want to add some information in there about being able to see some more of those pictures. But blogs are a great way to get people to come back to your site, for people looking for work or for people just enjoying your photos, especially if you can write a little text that goes along with them as well. Very nice. And oh my gosh, we have so many more still.
We gotta.
I'm moving as fast as I can.
All right.
My little legs are running. This is Mike's photographing the wild, and it's very clean. And I like this portfolio page. We've just got one picture across the top. I don't love the little watermark coming in there, but that's okay. And then we've got our categories. This is kind of what we've been saying we've wanted on some of these.
So here's I think what this portfolio does. So it does really well. Is it doesn't have a photographer's name, which is fine, but it sounds like he's just representing himself as photographing the wild. It's, it says it on there what it is. So you could go to a website. One of the things that drives me nuts about going to a website is going there. There's beautiful imagery. I have no idea what this person is doing. Like, I have no idea if they're a photographer. I have no idea if they're an interior designer or stylist or what. Like, you have to tell people what it is that you do somewhere on the front page where it's visible if you're selling your services. Otherwise, they're not really going to know. And the search engine isn't going to pick it up. So I like that, it says wildlife and wilderness photography, and it's very obvious. And it's pared down to just 3 categories. And I actually, when we were looking through these categories, I think that the wilderness and what was that other category?
Nature.
Wilderness and nature can be combined to tell maybe a little bit more of a story. The wilderness photos are mostly of landscapes, and the nature photos are kind of close of nature. And I think that if you were to merge those two, then you could tell a little bit more of a story with your portfolio, be a little bit more cohesive than just having 3 categories. But you have picked the best images. You do not have too many images. I think this portfolio.
That's very nice.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's very nice. The one thing I'd say about wildlife is it does seem like you have some older images in here. I think you're trying to fill out this, 3x4 or 4x3 grid each time. Some of them, when you look a little bit closer, have a little bit of an older feel to them. So, don't definitely update as you go.
Yeah, and another thing that's really important about portfolio, it's not about quality. It's not about filling the grid so that it looks nice, zoomed out. It's about showing your absolute best work. So if you've got like 4 pictures that are just absolutely the best and the other ones are just filler, do not fillers, because your work is as strong as your weakest picture. So make sure that you only show the very, very best photos.
Your work is only as strong as your weakest picture. That's a great statement. Okay, let's move on. Thank you, Mike. And we've got Quintana Photography.
So this person has really solid work, really good work. First thing that stands out to me is that you cannot see the menu links all that well.
Until you get to certain pictures.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, that's
you
not.
need to have something over that
Yeah.
or under it that makes it stand out more.
I do like the full, edge-to-edge bleeding images here, but as we completely lose these on some pictures, that's not good. Again, remember, you're working with normal folks here, especially if you're trying to get work. We go into an individual gallery, and I think it's the same. We've got the full bit. And so on some pictures, that looks very nice, and on others, it does not. So, yeah. Other thoughts about this? It's nice that you got, the dropout too. And there's...
Again, just too many categories, maybe separated into different portfolios.
Yep. That would be my suggestions.
Your work is really great.
Really
solid.
Nothing weak there. We got Joe. Joe, who's going to New Zealand with us. has put together a little Squarespace gallery, and I think Joe is just sharing his pictures. This is one of Squarespace's themes or templates, but we were both talking, I don't love the animation that it does.
No.
I do, the ones that are a little simpler and just clean with no zooming in appeal to me a little bit more. And even though, again, it's tough to pigeonhole some of our work if it's not actually work, it's just personal pictures. And we've got people, I see that, and over here we've got activities, but that's a person right there. And so, I think combined and pared down will really help. And let's go into an individual thing. And then we just see, I think we're going to get a nice drop down of shots. And Joe, you've got some great shots in here as well. Really nice lighting. But again, pare your pictures down unless there's a really strong reason for some of those shots to be in there. Pare them down. Sky Neary, who was an Instagram winner last week, has a Squarespace site and has shared it. And we have this kind of simple grid that Squarespace has fit these all in. And the first thing I notice when I go over the galleries,
way too many categories.
A lot of categories.
Way too many.
So we really got to pare it down, figure out again what you want to share. But we've got some nice bits here, and you got a whole link for social media. And I think what you've seen on some other people is in the footer, you can have these nice little social media links, and you can even write them out if you wanted. It doesn't need its own menu item. It just kind of adds to that. But you got great contact, and talking about people, the fact that people can get prints as well.
That's great. So, I mean,
Yep.
I can see that you have a lot of work because you're hoping that people will buy it. But still, I think you should just cut down to the absolutely very best, like 10 images in each category, and post those.
And now, also an Instagram winner last week, we got a splash page.
Yeah.
So we've already shared our opinions about that. But there are some fantastic images in there. And then
Their splash pages are cool. I'm not going to deny that.
Right.
They're really cool.
they're just not great for SEO. And they can turn some users off.
And again, so, landscape and Iceland are kind of, they're kind of the same thing. Like Iceland has lots of landscapes. I'm sure there's lots of landscape pictures there. You should just put them in the landscape and maybe have like a little text at the bottom saying where it was shot at.
Right.
Or if you're going to be a travel photographer, then like have, maybe a blog style portfolio where you just have pictures of all the places that you've been. So that, that's different, but these are amazing pictures.
They're very nice pictures. And I know Iceland, you had an amazing experience in Iceland, and we're talking about making a photo book from it. So I can understand, wanting to give it its space. But as Christina says, a lot of these are landscapes, and they should fit into the landscape section.
And then you've got on the streets, and then street people. Those, again, are a little bit redundant as well. So maybe combine those two into one and arrange them such that they tell a little bit of a story.
Yeah, that's right. But otherwise, again, very clean, very nice, and thank you.
Yep.
So we picked a winner.
We did.
I want to change it though. They can't see us right now, so they can't see that hard face that you meant. So put it back on us, and let me just show you for a second the one that I think. It's just there's several here that are very strong contenders, and I think this. Or we stick with our first choice, our original choice.
Well, are we judging based on quality of pictures, or are we judging based on like the portfolio itself?
The portfolio itself.
Because I think if we're judging based on how good the portfolio is as a whole and how well constructed it is, then I think, well, this person has really, really strong work. We'd already picked a winner.
Okay. In that case, being overruled by Christina.
See, now I'm the bad guy.
I didn't mean to make you
the bad guy about these things.
I didn't. I just think it's very close. There's several that are excellent out there. I hope that that feedback was great. But ultimately,
I think they should both one and you should buy another tripod and send it to both. That's plenty.
Photographing the wild. Mike's simple wilderness and wildlife photography portfolio. Can you put it back on us for just a second to show which one we're talking about? Because everybody's forgotten now because we've been talking about these for like 25,000 minutes. It's what we were talking about again and again. Simple, clean, with a minimum number of categories, and that's what we want to see. Again, though, thank you everybody who submitted. That was wonderful. I hope you learned something. Mike, I'll be in touch to send you along the Me Photo travel tripod in red. I promise I won't switch out my pink one for, or my one for this. And this is, I think I don't need any incentive, but I'd like to review something.
You don't have to be Squarespace.
Oh yeah, they don't. Just because I think we have good things to say to help you people, just like in photography. Help you people out there.
All right.
All right. Do I look? Can I see myself for a second? I feel pretty sweaty.
Yeah, you look pretty sweaty.
See, we can't keep the air conditioner on during the show. It'll sound like...
That probably hurt all their ears.
Sorry.
Okay.
We are moving on and wrapping this up. We got a couple of questions. No, there was no Roy's trying to start trouble. There's no thing that I could get through the portfolios fast. Fast news last week. Come on, Roy. Help man out. All right.
I always win.
An early question, please. Tube. An early question, please. DSLR video days at 1/50th of a second, so no need for a 4-stop ND filter to get from f22 to about f5.6?
Yes, you will need a
yes.
neutral density filter.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Or would 3 be okay for f11?
f11 on long distance action shots.
Or C on a budget and doesn't want a variable.
On a budget and doesn't want a variable filter. So this is, you were asking about video applications here, I think, right? Because, yeah, DSLR video. Sorry, you said that. I'm sorry, I'm just really thinking about this. I would go with the 4-stop because you can boost your ISO back up a little bit when you need to. But having the 4-stop is going to give you just a little bit more leeway. I mean, if it really starts to get dark enough, then you just take the thing off. But I'd go with the 4-stop to about f5.6. I think that's going to be better for you. And there's some very, if you're talking about like a 67 millimeter filter size, there's some very affordable ND filters. Tiffin, I've used the Tiffin ND filter. That's kind of the budget brand. It seems fine to me, especially for these kind of action shots and other things like that.
Okay. Back here. What kind of film does Christina use? Which would you recommend for street photography? I would kind of recommend black and white film maybe for street photography. Although one of the person whose portfolio we just reviewed, which I think was Aubrey, he had some really nice street photography that was shot in color. Usually when I think street photography, I think black and white, but his was all in color and it was beautiful. So I would try maybe Portra, Kodak Portra, 400 and 800, Velvia, which I think actually might be getting discontinued pretty soon, so maybe stock up on it, and then some black and white film too. That's pretty classic. So that's what I would recommend. Toby, did you ever post your review of the EM1? If not, would you mind discussing how you like the Olympus system on today's show?
I never did. I used it all, the original Mark EM1 and EM5 last summer, and wrote up a lot of notes for myself, but never made it. I really like the system. I like the camera. A lot of value in that. The new Mark II is excellent, I hear. I haven't had my hands on that yet. for me, it was kind of a blend between Fuji and Sony. You know, it had a little bit more of those friendly manual controls, but not quite so retro like the Fuji system is, but fast and snappy performance like the Sony system. So it's very nice, and with that built-in image stabilization, it is quite good. Walking around New York City, trying to pay careful attention to what I saw, I did see one Olympus out there, but mirrorless-wise, it was mostly Sony. That shouldn't impact your decision, but I love that they use the Micro Four Thirds standard format, so that opens up a lot of different lenses and really is a kind of a benefit over the Sony, although the sensor's a little bit smaller, but these sensors are very good. I don't think that should hold you back. And when I was trying to figure out, you know, I'm still not sure if the 5D SR is going to come through for me for Iceland. I was like, well, I could take the Olympus Mark II and use that sensor shift for 42 megapixels. I'd be happy with carrying that around. Very nice. I think they're kind of like, they were like the pioneer mirrorless. And there's a lot of people out there rocking those cameras and being very happy with them. Lachlan Stott says, if you have a camera with 3 stops of in-body stabilization and a lens with 4 stops, does that mean they combine to give 7 stops of stabilization? No. There's very few systems that are smart enough to combine both. Somebody is just doing that now, I've heard, but it doesn't work like that. Usually it's the max of whatever of the two. If the body gives you more, then that's what you're going to get. You're going to get that amount. If the lens gives you more, then that's what you're going to get, that amount. 7 stops, that'd be pretty amazing. And also, in-body image stabilization is almost always smart enough to turn itself off if you put it on a tripod, but lenses really vary, so make sure that you don't get that feedback that gives you blurry pictures on longer exposures if you leave image stabilization on a tripod, so turn it off. I like to remind people that often. People are always like, huh? Why does it work that way? And you know what? We're going to go briefly into the close show, like 5 minutes. Maybe we should even do it.
5 minutes thoughts, or actually
5 minutes.
Yeah, but before we do that, thank you so much for watching the show.
Yes, we do. Thank you.
If you enjoyed this mishmash of craziness, give us a thumbs up. And don't forget, we have a giveaway going on. So go to photorec.tv/giveaway to win an awesome trip to Yosemite, sponsored by McCabe Live. And if you want to follow us on Instagram, our usernames are on the screen right now.
Photorec analysis with all the vowels.
And we're also on photorec.tv.
On photorec.tv. That's what this is. Thanks so much for watching.
Goodbye.
We need to tell people that there won't be a show next week. There won't be a show for the next 2 weeks. There will not be a normal photo mishmash for the next 2 weeks because of travel in Iceland. But there'll be vlogs, and maybe Christina and I will figure out a way to get both of us on camera at the same time for a short discussion with you folks out there. But we will be back on our normal Wednesday time. What is it, August 19th, I believe?
I think so. And we will send you an email, so
sign up for the newsletter.
If you haven't already.
If you haven't already.
All right.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
We got our, okay, close show. Is there a time